What do you do when the man who signs your paychecks publicly says you were the problem? That is exactly the situation Bubba Wallace is facing right now, because after a brutal night at EchoPark Speedway that cost him 27 championship points, a wrecked race car, and a heated confrontation with Ty Gibbs, his own team co-owner Denny Hamlin picked a side, and it was not his. To understand how deep this cut goes, you have to go back to the beginning of one of the strangest race weekends of the 2026 NASCAR Cup Series season. The Quaker State 400 at EchoPark Speedway in Hampton, Georgia was supposed to be a Sunday race. Instead, a massive rain and lightning delay, including a red flag that halted the event for over 3 hours, pushed the finish deep into Monday morning. The checkered flag did not fly until nearly 2 in the morning on July 13, 2026. For Bubba Wallace, the stakes could not have been clearer. He entered the weekend sitting 12th in the Cup Series point standings, 83 points above the playoff cut line. That position was comfortable, but it was not safe, and every single point mattered with only a handful of regular season races remaining before the playoffs. There was also something else hanging over this race, something that never gets written down in any rulebook but governs every superspeedway event in NASCAR. Manufacturer teammates are supposed to help each other. Toyota drivers are expected to draft together, work together, and protect each other's track position. It is not an official regulation, but inside the garage, it might as well be law. Remember that expectation, because by the end of this story, it will be lying in pieces on pit road. The first disaster struck at the end of Stage 2. As the field raced toward the green-white checkered finish of the stage, Bubba Wallace was running in 6th place with valuable stage points on the line. Behind him, Ty Gibbs, driving the number 54 Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing, was charging with a massive run. Wallace quickly moved from the outer line to the inner line to defend his position. It was a block, and at a track like EchoPark Speedway, blocking is incredibly dangerous. The closing speeds are enormous, and a trailing driver with that much momentum cannot simply disappear when the car ahead moves down. Gibbs had nowhere to go. He hit Wallace square in the bumper, and the number 23 Toyota spun off the track and went careening through the infield grass. A solid stage finish vanished for the number 23 team in an instant. The stage points were gone. Keep that block in your memory, because it is about to matter a lot more than anyone realized at the time. Bubba Wallace recovered and charged back toward the front. He led 11 laps on the night and spent most of the evening racing among the leaders, showing that his car had genuine winning speed. Then came the final lap, and everything unraveled. Wallace took the white flag in 3rd position behind Carson Hocevar and Ryan Blaney. Entering turn 1, Wallace shoved Ryan Blaney to the race lead. As the number 12 car swung high on Carson Hocevar, the number 23 Toyota darted to the bottom down the backstretch, making it 3 wide for the top spot. In the process, he dropped below the yellow line and remained next to Hocevar and Blaney through turns 3 and 4. When a shove from Christopher Bell propelled Blaney to the victory. Ryan Blaney survived the marathon to claim the trophy, taking only the 2nd Cup win for Ford in 20 regular season races that year. Bubba Wallace crossed the finish line in 2nd place. He believed he had secured a hard-fought runner-up finish, a result that would have been a huge boost with the playoff race tightening. That happiness lasted for about 30 seconds. NASCAR officials immediately reviewed the footage and determined that Wallace had darted below the double yellow line in order to advance his position. It was deemed official that Wallace violated Section 8.7.2a of the NASCAR rulebook. The rule states passing below the double painted lines to advance position will result in a black flag. Just like that, the number 23 Toyota got dropped all the way to 29th place, the last car on the lead lap. The penalty was issued just before 2 in the morning, and it erased 27 championship points in a single ruling. It's a circulation. Bubba Wallace did not accept the decision quietly. He bolted over to his 2311 racing hauler to review the data with number 23 crew, Chief Charles Neek and Dave Rogers, the director of competition for 2311 Racing. After briefly evaluating their case, the trio walked to the NASCAR hauler for a 31-minute meeting with NASCAR officials. Before that meeting, Wallace was vocal and ready to plead his case. "We're gonna fight it," Wallace said before meeting with officials. His argument was built entirely on the wording of the rule itself. "The rule says advancing your position, which I did not do," Wallace said to a group of media members after the penalty was issued. "I stayed third and I was all over the brakes to make sure I did not advance. As soon as I turned, I was like, I'm going to wreck. I got on the brakes, kept it underneath me, and still ended up side by side." He went even further, insisting that the move actually hurt him rather than helped him. "That move should have propelled us to the lead, and it didn't because I knew it was wrong because my car did not like that move. We will see what we can do, but I did not advance my position. I stayed third from the entry to 3 all the way until 50 yards away. Ty Gibbs gave us a shot. And there it is. The cruel irony at the heart of this entire story. The telemetry the team brought into the hauler showed Wallace was hard on the brakes, actively trying to hand the spot back. It also showed that the bumper of Ty Gibbs kept pushing him from behind, shoving him from third to second while he was still below the line. The same driver who wrecked him in Stage 2 was the driver whose push technically sealed the penalty on the final lap. NASCAR heard all of it and said no, yellow line calls are not appealable. "A penalty is a penalty," Wallace said as he departed the series hauler. Then came the confrontation. After the race, Wallace and Gibbs met on pit road. Ty Gibbs walked over intending to apologize for the Stage 2 contact. It did not go the way he expected. "I just said lift," Wallace noted after having the post-race discussion with his Toyota quasi-teammate. "I said there's an opportunity to give, and you didn't." He was like, "Well, don't block me." It's like, bro, you hit me square in the bumper. The block was well ahead. You seen it coming. When asked by television reporters whether the 2 Toyota drivers were okay, Wallace delivered the line that turned an on-track incident into a full-blown manufacturer alliance problem. "We'll be fine. He had an opportunity to give there a lot, and he didn't do that. And so when I told him that, he quickly went on the defense and said, 'Don't block.' Then he added the dagger. 'But yeah, that's Toyota teammates. We don't race very well together.'" Ty Gibbs fired back in his own interview. "I went to tell him sorry because he cleared himself, and then, unfortunately, he showed a lot of disrespect," Gibbs stated. "It seems like it didn't work out for him. I tried to help him out there at the end and push him to win." While Wallace left with 9 points, Gibbs finished 5th with 38 crucial points and currently sits 4th in the standings. This is where Denny Hamlin enters the story, and this is where it gets truly fascinating. Hamlin occupies an impossible position. On one hand, he co-owns 23XI Racing alongside basketball legend Michael Jordan, which makes him the boss of Bubba Wallace. On the other hand, he drives for Joe Gibbs Racing, which makes him the teammate of Ty Gibbs. Whatever he said, he was going to cross someone. On his podcast, Actions Detrimental, Hamlin sided with Ty Gibbs. "My perspective is both guys should look at it through the other guy's perspective," said Hamlin, but then he laid out his blocking philosophy and it left no doubt about where he stood. "I've always thought, generally speaking, when it comes to blocking, a block is fine," said Hamlin. "It can be as late as it needs to be as long as you're clear. You can make the block as late as you want to make it as long as it doesn't require the person coming with the run to check up." The problem in his view comes when the speed difference is too large. The blocks that are really, really tough are the ones where they're coming at 10 miles per hour faster. And yes, you're clear to pull up because, sure, you're clear, but it doesn't mean you have to take that. He even invoked Brad Keselowski and his famous "I'm done lifting" stance from years earlier, agreeing that asking a competitor to endanger themselves to save your position is too much to ask. Then Hamlin applied that standard directly to his own driver. "And I think this was one of those situations where it was a tough ask, and to ask the 54 to check up that much," said Hamlin. "There was just so big of a speed variance, but I understand why the 23 did it. He doesn't want to lose that one spot because they're coming to the end of the stage, but man, that's really putting your competition in a really tough spot. I just don't think that's a reasonable ask of anyone. If Ty does get on the binders there, he puts himself in danger to help you, and I don't think anyone is signing up for that." Here is the nuance that most coverage missed. Hamlin was not simply attacking Bubba Wallace. He also called out his other 23XI Racing driver, Tyler Reddick, for throwing similar blocks in the same race. "I was a little upset with the 45 as well," Hamlin admitted, criticizing blocks that leave the competition no choice. That consistency matters. This was Hamlin setting one standard for both of his cars regardless of who benefits, and on the final lap penalty, Hamlin actually defended his driver's decision. It was the only percentage shot he had of winning is to get 3 wide and hopefully get a push, and he just barely crossed over there, Hamlin said. He explained that from inside the car, the backstretch at Atlanta gives drivers almost no visual reference. When I'm going on the backstretch at Atlanta, the difference between the apron and the actual racetrack, there's not much difference in banking. So looking at a straight line is like looking at a landing strip for an airplane. Yet he still agreed the penalty was correct. It is a wall. That's how they rule it, he said, adding, when I watched it, I was thinking that that's definitely going to be a penalty. Because I've been penalized for it before, so the full picture of Hamlin's position is layered. He believed Wallace was wrong on the stage 2 block, right to go for the win on the final lap, and correctly penalized by NASCAR. That is judgment by the rulebook, not by team loyalty. But is that approach smart or dangerous? Honestly, it is both. It is smart because it protects the long-term reputation of 2311 Racing in the garage. And no driver wants to draft with a team known for reckless blocking. It is dangerous because driver trust and ownership can erode fast when criticism is delivered on a podcast instead of inside the shop, especially during a week when Wallace was already dealing with a brutal penalty. And this relationship already has scar tissue. Fans remember Wallace flashing the middle finger toward Denny Hamlin after a previous last lap incident and Hamlin firing back on social media, "Give me a break. I was off the gas and on the brakes 100 Ds before the 23 let off." Add the earlier friction with Christopher Bell, and a pattern of tension between Wallace and his fellow Toyota drivers becomes hard to ignore. Now for the numbers that make this so painful. The final lap penalty cost Wallace 27 points alone, and because 27 other drivers each gained a position, he effectively lost 28 points to the competition. He lost 22 points to the chase cut line in one night. He fell from 12th to 13th in the standings, dropping his potential playoff bonus from 20 points to 15, while William Byron of Hendrick Motorsports leapfrogged him. Wallace now sits just 55 points above Joey Logano at the cut line, with Austin Cindric, Shane Van Gisbergen, and Eric Jones stacked between them. He has finished outside the top 20 in 6 of his last 9 races. As Wallace himself put it, everyone behind us in points is like, "Oh, 23, they see that and are licking their chops." With the position that we are in, we're not safe. The next test comes immediately at North Wilkesboro Speedway this Sunday, July 19, with drafting tracks like Daytona International Speedway still looming on the calendar. Places where Bubba Wallace and Ty Gibbs will have no choice but to work together again. So the question stands. Was Denny Hamlin right to call out his own driver in public, or should team owners always back their drivers no matter what? Team Wallace or Team Hamlin? Drop your answer in the comments and subscribe, because this Toyota storyline is far from over.